I refused to let my wife see our newborn for 2 days. When my daughter was born, I took her out of my wife's arms before she could even count her fingers. "What are you doing?" my wife screamed, but I was already walking toward the door with our baby pressed against my chest. "Stop him," she yelled at the nurses. "He's taking my baby." I handed my daughter to a nurse in the hallway and told her to take the baby to the nursery and not let my wife anywhere near her until I gave permission. The nurse looked at me like I was insane. "Sir, I can't do that." I told her to check the file I'd submitted to the hospital 6 months ago. Then I walked back into the room. My wife was trying to get out of bed with red still on the sheets. "Sit down," I said. "You can't see her yet." She looked at me with horror in her eyes. "What is wrong with you?" she sobbed. "That's my baby. Why are you doing this?" I told her to give me a couple of days. "A couple of days?" she screamed. "I just gave birth and you're pretty much kidnapping our daughter." 2 nurses held her down while she thrashed and cried and screamed my name. I sat in the chair by the window and didn't say another word. Her mother showed up and I could hear her screaming at the nurses before she even made it down the hallway. "Where is my granddaughter?" she kept yelling. "What has he done with her?" She stormed into the room and pointed her finger directly in my face. "I always knew there was something wrong with you," she said, her voice shaking. "I told my daughter not to marry you, and she didn't listen, and now you're finally showing everyone who you really are." I told her I wasn't doing anything wrong and she needed to calm down. "My daughter is lying here sobbing because you won't let her hold her own baby," she screamed. "I'm calling every lawyer in this city. I'm going to make sure you rot in prison for the rest of your life." My wife's father showed up an hour later and he didn't yell. He just stood in the doorway and looked at me with cold hatred. "I don't know what kind of sick power trip this is," he said quietly, "but I promise you it ends today, one way or another." My wife's sister arrived that afternoon and swung at my face before anyone could stop her. Security had to physically drag her out of the room while she kicked and screamed. "You're dead," she kept yelling from the hallway. The charge nurse told me they were considering having me removed from the hospital entirely due to the drama. My wife just lay there crying and staring at the ceiling. Every few minutes she'd turn to me with red eyes. "Why are you doing this to me?" she kept asking. "I'm your wife. What did I do wrong? Why are you punishing me?" I sat in the chair by the window and didn't answer because I couldn't tell her the truth. The psychiatrist came on day 2 to do the evaluation I'd requested the moment we found out she was pregnant. She sat with my wife for an hour while I waited in the hallway. When she came out, she pulled me into a private room. "I need you to tell me exactly what happened with your first child," she said. I told her my wife didn't remember any of it because of the medication they gave her after. She said she still needed to hear it from me. I took a breath and tried to keep my voice steady. I walked into the nursery, and my wife was standing over the crib pressing a pillow against our son's face. She was pushing down with all her weight and humming a lullaby while she did it. The psychiatrist didn't react. I pulled her off and the baby wasn't breathing. I did CPR for 2 minutes before he gasped. 2 minutes of breathing into my son's mouth, not knowing if he was going to come back. My voice cracked, and my wife just stood in the corner smiling at me. She asked me why I woke the baby up. She had no idea what she'd just done. She still doesn't. The psychiatrist looked at her notes for a long moment. "Your wife's evaluation is clear," she finally said. "No psychosis, no intrusive thoughts. She's stable. You were right to have her evaluated before allowing contact." I felt tears running down my face. "Good, you can bring the baby to her now." When my wife finally got to see the baby, she held her tight and sobbed. Her parents still think I'm a monster, and her sister hasn't spoken to me in 2 years. My wife knows I'm keeping something from her, but she's decided she doesn't want to know what it is.